Hello. It's my messy hair video. Anyways, no, it's going to be talking today out of a request from one of my daily blog videos about my take on religion. My hair is not behaving today. Anyways, so my take on religion, and to an extent how it applies to Asperger's. I don't want to necessarily make anybody think that this is absolute fact, or that your kid or you yourself are this way, because, you know, you may not be. I just happen to have an odd sort of logic that goes through my brain that doesn't necessarily allow for religion. Well, no, I can understand religion, I just can't understand what it entails. So, you know, we'll go with what my whole shebang current thing is. I am by and large atheist. And I say by and large because I really have no intense, I have no higher being that I do anything for, or do anything with, or whatever. I don't go to church, I don't know, I just don't see it. But my take basically is I cannot place blind faith in something I cannot observe. That is it. I cannot place blind faith in something I cannot observe. I don't want to say see, because you can still observe something by touching it. You just don't have all the information. So, yeah. I was raised Catholic. I went to a Lutheran preschool, but, at this point, I've found a lot of people who did and aren't Lutheran. It just happens to be the preschool that, wasn't a public school that my parents sent me to. I don't even think it was Lutheran to begin with. I think it was just a preschool at the bottom of a church. So, I don't know, I was 4. And then I went to public kindergarten. And then after that, Grandpa put money forth in like a little reserve account so that my sister and I could go to Catholic school. Because he was raised Catholic, he raised my dad Catholic, and we were going to be raised Catholic. That's how this thing happened. That's how these things happen. Except, and, bless his heart for trying, but I wound up not ever quite fitting in. Because while I went through the motions so well, people can say certain phrases from Catholic Mass, and I will just, the next phrases will come out of my mouth. Because it's so inrote. There are people I know that have no idea why I say what I did. I actually had someone, I unconsciously said something. I was at a food cart, and I tipped them, because they don't technically have those kind of laws. But anyways, and they didn't, and as we have around here, we have a lot of non-English speaking food carts, so they have very broken English, but they try their best. And she kind of bowed her head and she says, "Thanks be to you." And I bowed my head and went, "And also with you." So fast, and we kind of walked, and I walked away with this weird sort of embarrassment, going, "Oh God, I just did Catholic Mass," And the boyfriend's like, I thought that came out a little fast from your mouth. Like, yeah. Well, it wasn't that it came out fast. It was the fact that I didn't even think about it. It just, thanks be to you, and also with you. You know, it's like, did I just say that? Yes, you did. So, you know, like I said, I've got the Catholic doctrine stuff in rote, and there's just, you know, how all that happy jazz is. I have found what is best described as solace in logical mathematical science, because it gives me answers. It gives me functional answers. It does not answer every question yet. And my brain does not like half answers, such as when I asked, you know, my teachers in first grade, not first grade, wouldn't be asking that, but like 7th grade, you know, what's such and such? And they'll give me, oh, or why did this happen? Well, it's the Lord's way. He decided that was going to happen? No. But he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to stop it, so it must be in his plan. And that's when I started realizing they have an answer for everything, and it's all God's fault. Now, I will be talking about Catholics mainly because that's who I have the thing. But Catholics have their own little special religion, religious doctrine and all that stuff. But most of the Christians in general kind of, you know, this is why there's so many non-denominationals. But what's really funny is because by them calling themselves non-denominational, they're actually denomination. You know? So, yeah. So when it comes down to, you know, the push and the shove, I don't really like to talk about religion because it's a sore subject with a lot of people. And the reason why I don't like to bring it up in, you know, political discussions is because it shouldn't be there. You know? Religion and politics has never mixed too terribly well. You know? I'm going to try to bring it up. I had a rant last week or so. It took me about 5 hours to write it because I was doing the weird, was waiting for the strings to come down. And I think I talked about it prior. I should just go to my page. The largest thing on my page in the last month. There it is. It was October 18th, back when I was having, you know, issues. This may not make a lot of sense, but this goes along with this video. Because it kind of disjointed, but it's way more jointed than it would have been if I had flung ideas from my head. It says, yes, I'm officially the wrong person to ever vote federally. The pro-choice, pro-life debate involving stem cell research around the, quote, growing and using human embryos for medical experimentation, end quote. And Romney said today on The View. And I asked back, so? It seems to me that some Christians have a dismissal view of reincarnation through Eastern religions. But they also have this belief that a personality or whatnot is present in embryos. Some pre-planned blueprint with a hint that there is a limited quantity. Those two things seem to be sides of the same coin. what gets me more is that people I know are split along those lines. And I don't know how to deal with the fact that my brain tells me to fear and be terrified of these people because they aren't thinking scientific logically. They are thinking, they're letting things that have only feelings about they have feelings about rule their conscious thinking. A person, however your beliefs, tinfoil hat or not, want to define what a normal person is a summation of memories and experiences in their life, coupled with the hardwiring blueprint that grows a body in a certain way. That's how a personality is formed. So go ahead, Republicans, or religious conservatives, or whatever the public is calling you people these days. Breed more young to press your quasi-political religious ideals onto other countries through war and missionary work, so willing to make sacrifices for that cause, but not for the advancement of medical research to currently help the living from debilitating illnesses or other maladies. Who says we ever left the Dark Ages? So, there's a whole lot in that. But, anyways, so, that's the thing. I love science. I absolutely do. It gives a lot of answers. It gives a lot of extra questions. But, yeah, and that's where the religion. I don't like the fact of you place faith in something else. Something you have a feeling that exists. You know in your heart it exists. It doesn't hold enough water for me. Maybe I just never got the feeling in my heart. Mainly because when I know I have a feeling in my heart, it's time to go to the doctor. So, all that jazz. So, everything's... Let's turn this back into a daily blog. Anyways, so... Yeah, about religion. It gets really funky because people have a lot emotionally invested into it. And they let it cloud their judgment. I've seen it on numerous occasions where people are willing to stop, loved ones from doing things, regardless of what it is, whether it's a gay marriage or abortion or Lord knows whatever. Religion, and the faith in God and the teachings that He has put down can drive families apart. This shouldn't be happening. A religion shouldn't drive families apart. You can have a fundamental faith system and believe in the higher power for the betterment of you, not the betterment of mankind. You cannot place that on yourself. You cannot place the betterment... What is this, a fast-moving cloud? You cannot place the betterment of mankind on yourself. And even then, you have the betterment of mankind in your head that this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do all this for the betterment of mankind. Your view, betterment of mankind. I know people that are debilitating illnesses, conditions that they were, born with or something. And, well, that's just God's way. It's like, to me, I've looked at a lot of people from my grade school and middle school days. And I've seen them now on Facebook. They tend to place a lot of blame on the higher power. They blame it for good things. They blame it for bad things. They blame it for everything. And it gets me this thinking idea that society doesn't want to take responsibility for itself. I cannot tell you how many times people around me, oh, it's God's plan. It's God's work. Really? You had nothing to do with it. Oh, I'm just doing God's work. You don't even know what you did. You know, you conjured up an idea in and of yourself to do something, and then it turned out good, and you said, well, it was God's wish. You know, and it's so indoctrinated that people cannot take themselves responsible for things. You know, if you're going to shy away from responsibility, tell people you're doing. I mean, technically they are telling people they're doing it, but they're not, you know, trying to hide the fact. Anyways, so yeah, and the more I went through back to another point, the more I went through Catholic school, the more I saw that while I did have some answers, the rest of the answers, you know, just weren't there. They, you know, and people were okay the fact that answers were not there, and that infuriated me. In my specific school, we didn't actually deal with it, because in my first grade class, we had the chapter on, you know, we had the whole, like, week of dinosaurs. Well, we weren't one of, you know, I wasn't in the weird, kooky, crazy religions where they're like 6,000 years old. What are you playing, Civilization? Huh. Well, everything involving the Earth started at 4000 BC? No. And I was never taught that in school. None of my teachers said that. But I know people that do. In fact, I'm going to, just for humor purposes, I'm going to actually put a link in the comment, or not the comments, but in the description to an Amazon item. Because I found it before on Amazon. In fact, I'm going to look for it now. I'm tempted to buy this now that I have money, now that I think about it. Ooh, I wanted to buy something on Amazon. And it's just, you know, one of those things that you can keep, that I can keep somewhere in an attic or something, and when kids or grandkids come like, what was it like when you were a little kid? I can hold them up, but like, they thought this was true. You know. So, but yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I've poked too many holes in religion by asking too many questions. Because I'm an inquisitive person. I want to know more. I value information. And faith and religion stop at a certain point. And so does science, but science stops farther. Yeah. Oh my God. There's more books. Ah! I'm going to actually look for actual educational ones. Anyways, but yeah, I searched for it. Now I know. Oh, maybe if I put one word, I put that one as 2. So anyways, but it's kind of hilarious. And so I look around because I need to think. And our clouds are really interesting today. You know, none of my teachers talked about, you know, the 6,000 years old. We always talked about fossils and dinosaurs and stuff. And it just worries me that there are people being taught that the world around them is not what they can see. Perhaps it's because I've had, you know, heightened sensory, you know, input, sensory overload into meltdowns, or the fact that I maybe So maybe undiagnosable schizophrenic. I know that the internet tests tend to say stuff like that, but, you know, the internet test can tell you anything you want. But, you know, I've done a fair bit of them. But I've always had an issue detecting what is real, because there's so many hidden things around me. Or even if there are, you know, like body language for Asperger's. There's so many hidden things around me. I did not know it existed. And once I found out that it existed, I thought it was sign language. When people first brought it out, they're like body language. I was like, world, peace, you know, using my body to convey language. Actually, at first I think it was the letters that they used to do on Sesame Street, where the kids would, like, fold themselves and they would make letters. I thought that, you know, body language, like where you fold yourself and make letters, and like, no. I'm like, sign language? No. And I named off a couple other things, and everyone was like, how do you not know this? And I'm like, You know, someone, you know, it took until the boyfriend to, you know, a couple years ago to fully explain what it was. I'm here, 29 years old, did not, you know, I talked to the doctors, and I had no clue what they were talking about. I had absolutely no clue. You know, and while I do read it, I get it wrong. Or even if I do get it right, you know, rapture's happening. Anyways, so I gotta click on this one. Anyways, so yeah, I kind of want to. Getting distracted here. So yeah, so we have up until about 8th grade, which is when I stopped going to Catholic school, and then I went to public school because I was done. I was done. The kids that were there were, I thought, different than in high school. They were a little bit different. They were entitled. They were entitled to being spoon-fed. If they were not being spoon-fed stuff, then they, you know, they felt slighted, apocalyptically slighted. And then, you know, and then I get to public school and there's people that aren't necessarily spoon-fed. And I look like the spoon-fed one. You know, I go from being like the quasi-poor one in school to the quasi-rich one. I get money per week for an allowance for doing chores, and some of the people I'm around barely have that much money for their entire family left over after all their necessary bills and groceries and rent. And that's my weekly allowance. It was $20 a week. Back in '96, that bought a lot. And I figured out how to spend less and less money. And then I got my own job in '99 at Taco Bell, and then things kind of took off from there. But, yeah, that's a different topic. So once I hit public schools, then I started realizing that there were other religions. Like, we'd had the Episcopalian kid, and we had gone, and my family had gone down to, I don't know, 4th of July and Thanksgiving with my mom's first roommate, and she had gotten married and had a family, and they were about the same age as my sister and I, and, you know, family friend is what they're called, and we do 4th of July and Thanksgiving. Usually it's like 4th of July at her house, Thanksgiving at her sister's house, or, you know, 4th of July up here, because they lived about 100 miles south. So it was like 4th of July up here, and then Thanksgiving down there, and it just sort of switched around We never did 4th of July over at her sister's house because she lived in the woods. You don't want to do fireworks in the woods. Not when you live in a state that allows you to shoot stuff up into the sky. So, all that happy jazz fun. So, everything, and they were Mormon. But they were, you know, until we started going with her sister, her and her family were not very Mormon. They were not Mormon at all. Like, they drank coffee, they smoked, they weren't Mormon. I mean, they are Mormon, they went to stuff, and one of her sons went on mission, or something like that. But they really weren't Mormon. I mean, they did entirely. It was like they were Mormon on the business card. Whereas her sister was like completely devout. And we'd go over to her house and we'd have the Thanksgiving, and then, you know, the elders would come by, and that was my little first taste of what an elder was. They're like, oh, the elders are coming over. And I'm like, oh, your parents are coming over? They're like, oh, no, the elders. I'm like, okay, the elders. And they come over, and these elders are younger than me. You know, this was back when I was dating my last boyfriend. It was 2004. I was 23. And these were elders that were younger than me. They were like 21 and 22. One of them was the size of a stadium. And he joked, oh, it's nice to go around to all the Thanksgiving houses. We can snack on dessert. And I just look over at my ex, and I'm like, I think that elder needs to lay off all the desserts. Perhaps if he had, I don't know, a Slim Fast, it might be nice. That guy was gargantuan. And there's no way to trace him now. Because, yeah. Anyway, and the other one was like rail thin. So, which is a whole thing about skinny guy, fat guy. We can talk about that one later. So, and that was when I was like, oh my God, elders, and then and I got to the other idea of what other religions were. But until I started actually seeing what religion does to society, it's kind of scary to realize that people who don't actually have all the answers, I mean, they don't. Like I've stated before, I can continue asking them questions and they don't know more and more and more and more. And they start doing a broken record about the same answer to it all. You know, it's either the Lord's way, works in mysterious ways, or that's irrelevant. I love that one. That's irrelevant. You know, and they use these emotional feelings and they want to dictate terms with it. You know, am I a creature of emotion? Yeah, I'm affected by them. I really strive against it. When I have emotional breakdowns, meltdowns or whatever, I don't like what I do during them. Because I know I probably have some sort of anger issue, and I whisper or I scream or I mutter during those things that I ought not to be saying. You know, the pressure cooker broke, sort of thing, and some of that steam that should never have been let out is let out because it is irrelevant. It's just my perception with my emotions. It's not reality. It's just what I think is happening. And you know, the average religious nuts don't know that. They think that their emotions are the most concrete thing, and they don't realize that your emotions can change 15 minutes later. You know, based around the environment. Don't dictate terms based on your emotions. Don't set down laws for the entire country based around one singular faith. Because we are growing populous as a country and are getting more and more religions. Now, I'm kind of sympathetic in the fact that I am technically a religious minority, of being none, that, you know, the Muslims and the Mormons to an extent, and the Hindu and the Buddhists and the pagans, the polytheists, the sun worshippers, Scientologists, not sure that's a religion. Anyways, but they're getting technically oppressed by, you know, Christians, by Catholics. You know, we've had a lot of Catholic presidents. Some of them have been Episcopalian, some of them way in the back then were Puritans, but they just got renamed. Or they were Lutheran. You know, and that's great and all, but you're dictating terms, because Catholics, Episcopalians, Lutherans, Mormons, you're all Christians. You know, so that's what's going on with that. So, do I have the experience to be able to cite all this? Not necessarily. I'm not a theologist. I haven't even taken a college course on theology. You know, I just know that from all the data I've tabulated over the many years of mine and seen what religion can do to a populace, you know, we want to grow as a society. You know, we want to move on to higher class civilizations. And so I'm going to put a link down into that one. Michio Kaku did a good video on that one. I'm not sure if I could find it too terribly well on YouTube to make an annotation, so I'm just going to make a Wikipedia to the types of civilizations. In the type. Wiki. So we want to grow to a type, you know, civilization type. And we want to grow higher. We want to control, but we need to get over. We need to get over ourselves. You know, is it harmful to have a religion? No. To have a personal religion? No. It's when that religion gets in the way of doing what is better. We're doing what is for the betterment of mankind. Kardashev scale is what it is. So, yes, that's that. That's my take on religion. I don't like to get involved because people are too emotionally invested in beliefs. Beliefs that something that you transitionally, and even if it's the same thing over and over, it's still a transitional feeling. Because it's a feeling. There's chemicals interacting in your body that make your brain think something's happening. That's a feeling. You have a feeling that such and such is the way it is. That's a belief. I feel that it's going to rain later today. Man, I couldn't even keep that one straight. I know it's going to rain later today. I can see the gray clouds that are pouring in. You know, that, and I watch the news regularly. But yeah, you know, and people, they feel stuff, and then they base it around everything they do. And they don't think about what an impact that will have on other people because they're selfish. And they don't care really about other people. You know? The idea, way back when, but a while back, with everyone being like, can't we all just get along? No. As long as people stop as long as people are still using their emotions to dictate their lives, we can't all get along. That's it. We are stagnated as a society because people's genetic makeup allows for the chemicals in their bodies to interact in different ways, which allows the brain to feel different things. How many people do you know feel pain different ways? You know, a scratch down the back could be painful for some, conditions aside, or it can be relaxing, or it can be arousing. You know, so, and I don't mean like a down the back. Like you got a lion trying to do spinal surgery on you. It can feel different to different people. And if the same thing can feel different to people, why are you then basing that and judging the rest of society? You know, and I know that's what our democracy is supposed to do, is give the average a voice. That's what a democracy is supposed to do, is give the average a voice. You know, but it doesn't work that way. You can't. You can't get the average. You get the majority. I'm going to link a video right here involving that, because it's about elections and it's a little side video. So, yeah, I will chit-chat with you guys later. It's been a long video, but this is an explanation one, not a daily blog. So hopefully this gives some sort of insight.